Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer, whiskey, wine or gin. Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking.
Back with another episode of Shades of Blue. This is not Cody Bradley. This is Thad Bell from the Kansas City Soccer Journal. With me, Robert Rusert from the Kansas City Soccer Journal. This is a lot of diversity here. We have been struggling to get pods in, people busy, people all over the world, people having lives other than soccer. I don't understand. But how are you, sir? How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I mean, Thad, and you retired or whatever a number of years ago. So, most of us do have jobs. So,
I don't know that I would like to say I was retired. I quit the corporate world. I was hustling to do 3 or 4 other jobs. That's not retirement. Just because
you know what I mean. Yeah,
but that's just because it's slowed down now. Doesn't mean that I'm still retired or anything. It just means I suck at what I'm doing.
Oh, no. You are busy all the time. I'm just saying you're not locked into that, 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job. So, yeah, but Cody seems to be running more than that for sure. He's a busy man.
Yeah, he got the job he wanted, and he's paying the price for it now.
You also pay the price for still, doing stuff like, sand volleyball and kickball and yeah.
Yeah. All right. We are here to talk a little bit of soccer and sporting. It's been a couple days now. Did not look so great Saturday night. You were there the whole time. I was only there for a little over half.
Right. Yeah.
Ignoring the result, just let's go for something. I'm looking for a positive. I don't know if you can give it to me. Did the team look bad and just have some very unfortunate things happen, or what happened there? Were they not so bad and it just looked bad, or were they actually bad?
That's such a complex question, Thad, more than you realize.
Well, I know. But
they didn't look bad. Can you say they look good? No. When you allow such easy goals, which 2 of them were, you can't say you look good. We did create some chances, but the XG ended up being fairly low again. 1, according to what MLSsoccer.com says, 4 for FC Dallas. So that doesn't look good at all, does it? But, there were some calls that, we'll talk about in detail a little bit later, I'm sure. We weren't a team that looked like we were the better team. That's for sure.
Yeah, I came from the current game, so I missed part of the current game and I missed part of the sporting game. But I came in and I'm driving over and I was like, hey, there's a goal. Yay, early, shoppy.
And what a sweet goal. Ooh.
Do you think we could get him to do that like every couple games? He'd be worth a lot more money.
Well, yeah, that's true. It's true. But, the thing about that goal, just briefly, is how quickly he cut and then how quickly he struck. Because the goalkeeper did get a hand on it. If he had taken any bit longer and his first touch on his cut wasn't good enough, that never would have happened. But it was so fast and so quick, his first touch and his shot, that keeper couldn't get a full hand on it. So, yeah, sweet goal for sure. And things look good then. But, Dallas has got some dangerous weapons, and the referee happened to be one of them in some ways. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying the referee was the reason we lost, but it's probably the worst refereeing I've seen, at least at a home game all season.
Yeah, at least this season. Yeah. I always hate to blame refs. I mean, they can make bad calls. At the same time, I also don't want to be on that side of, you got to play better than the refs. Because these games are close. They can turn on just a very small mistake or a margin. If a player makes one mistake and the game turns on it, you say, well, a player should have made a mistake. If a referee makes that mistake and the game turns on it, then it's, well, you should have played better than the ref. I get that, and that's the same thing I would tell my players and all that stuff. But at the same time, sometimes the refs do cost you the game.
Yeah, I mean, do we want to get into it? Is that what we want to do right now, or we want to talk a little bit more about the game?
Well, let's go talk a little bit more about the game. I think I had the ref thing down a little bit lower, but
yeah.
But what else? Shoppy scored the goal, got off to a good start. Dallas responded relatively quickly. I forget how long. Wasn't that long? Was it like 3 minutes later?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Nice goal.
Well, it's a nice goal, but Musa, he receives the ball in the middle of the field near the top of the box. Got plenty of time. Nobody's pressuring him. So much so that he can lay the ball out wide, and then he makes his run right toward goal. Miller tried to go with him, but couldn't quite get there, and cross in and easy tap in. So it shouldn't be that easy. That's the problem. And there was one other goal that was too easy as well. So it's frustrating because, like you have in the notes here, we needed a win and things were looking good. And they come home and they lay an egg, and it's depressing.
And that's the biggest disappointment for me, is that they should have been able to get a win. Dallas was only slightly above them in the table, had some good results, but they were not that far above them. They needed that win just to try to build some momentum, and they didn't get it because they've dropped way too many points at home this year. This almost felt like a last year game where they could look halfway decent, but then they just let people run right up the middle and score goals.
Yeah, I mean, they had Eric Tommy in your favorite position as well. But yeah, with Davis and Bartlett and Manu in the midfield, you were thinking, okay, we've got a little more bite in a sense in there with Jake. Maybe, we're missing Zorhan. But, Bartlett and him did not do the job defensively. You can't expect Manu to be a, defensive presence too much. But, yeah, just going right through the midfield, and you got to talk about Miller and Fernandez a little bit too, because they're part of that. But yeah, we need to fix things in there somehow, some way.
I know that we have been fairly complimentary of Miller this year as a rookie and having done well. And I'm not blaming him for the goals as much as he was not able to overcome some of those goals where he has this year. Oh, he made a save off the line, didn't he? He made a save off the line.
Right. One where he covered Paul Scamp when he came out.
Yeah. So he still had a pretty good game. Is it Fernandez? I mean, these last two games without Voloder, they've lost, and the defense has looked a little bit more leaky again. What do you think?
Well, on the Musa goal, the first one, I can't really see any fault there. There was not enough pressure on Musa in the middle. And there was not enough pressure on the ball out wide. The cross came in. Miller was running with Musa, just didn't get there. Where was Fernandez on the play? To be honest with you, I didn't watch Fernandez that closely. So, maybe you've got a point. I'll have to watch it again. But the other goal, you've got Acosta's breakaway. No, you can't see anything there. The other one was the PK, which we can talk about later. And the other one was the shot where Musa fiddles around the box and nobody puts a body on him or puts pressure on him. And he gets a shot off that Polskamp parries, and the guys are on the doorstep and scores. Shallowy was marking him. So I don't see Fernandez, indicted in any of those particularly. So it's just little breakdowns that, kind of remind you of the Vermees era where these things would happen continually, right?
It does. And I don't necessarily want to say that it was Fernandez's fault in a specific way as much as maybe the positioning for everybody was a little off because he was there versus Voloder, or the recovery speed wasn't there because Voloder busted ass to get the stuff along with Miller. Again, I'm not trying to say it's anybody one specific fault, because it just wasn't quality all around, quite honestly.
Well, one thing I did notice, and this has nothing to do with the back line, it was the midfield. Davis was doing a lot of directing, especially of Kyrie. And that's why I just noticed a lot trying to organize their coordination because, Jake plays the right, 8, if you will, in that midfield. And they were working together to coordinate things a lot. And, the ball didn't really go through that area so much, but I don't know. At least they're working on that, I guess.
Yeah. Again, having Jake back in there. Kyrie admitted after the game he didn't have a great game, but I guess part of that at least had to refer to the cards that we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah. And
but
Acosta,
also,
had his way with him.
yeah. But Costa has his way with a lot of people. So.
Exactly.
All right. Any more detail we want to go into the actual gameplay or go to the big things now?
Well, I think we're doing a little better job actually, and we only had a 1 expected goals, but of getting a little bit away from dumping the ball out wide and crossing it in, and playing a little more through the middle, being a little more quicker with the movement of the ball. I think that was better, and it's getting better all the time. It's just, I think those goals that we allowed and some of the referee calls were frustrating, and it just kind of demoralized us a little bit.
But before we move on to the referee calls, because that does have to be talked about, you just saying it, it's you feel like the teams playing are doing some things better. Is these last 2 games more maybe just the hiccup in the trying to become a better team, or is it just a lack of this team doesn't have enough quality, or is Carey not doing a good enough job at the moment? I mean, there's a lot of reasons. They don't have to be a single reason. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a lot to do with coordination between the lines. It's still not there. I think the focus early on was, let's get our back 4 straightened out. Obviously, Voliter's injury, may have interfered with that a little bit. But I think it's just making sure that teams aren't so easily able to go through the middle. Is it our pressure is not coordinated properly? Our repressing when we lose the ball is not coordinated properly enough? I think maybe it's the center backs and the midfield that maybe need a little more coordination to, clog those middles up and not allow those balls to go outside and then back in as easily. I think it's really just coordinating the lines. I think it is, like you said, it's steps toward becoming a better team, and you're going to have some hiccups, but we just got to get that coordination proper and that balance right. And, Bartlett runs a lot, but does he read things well enough? I don't want to throw it on him, but I still am not convinced that he's that guy yet. And it's going to take a while. He's 19?
Yeah, and he's half a season in, and he's played most of the games, but not even all the games. Half a season into his first season. I think he's this is always the catch-22 for these things. Do you just let him play because it's a really crucial spot for any team, the 6? Do you let him keep playing until he gets better, or you decide he's not going to get better? You know what I mean? I don't think he's playing bad. He's playing a lot of good things, but he still has a lot of room to grow.
Well, let's admit, with a song with the Canadian national team, with Radia out with injury, there aren't any other options really, right? I mean, Memo showed that in the midfield, it's not his strongest suit, and he has played that 6 before, but that's not a decision you want to make at this point. They even pushed. Who did they push into the? Oh, yeah, who was the center back they pushed in? Was it Fernandez into the 6 one game just for a little bit?
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot of options right now, to be honest.
Well, there's not, and if the options were there, I still would actually rather play Bartlett just to let him continue to grow. Quite honestly, that's me.
But I can see Carey though, perhaps with Davis back, maybe throwing Basong in there for a start and see what happens. Just occasionally give Bartlett a rest, because that could be another thing. Bartlett's not used to playing this much. I mean, college, so I don't know.
That's something we'll have to see when Basong comes back from the Gold Cup.
Right.
Because I don't have any faith that Roddy is going to get healthy anytime soon, because he's only healthy half the time anyway. And,
have you seen him in training at all, or?
It's been off and on. And I think last time I was out there, he wasn't in training.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, oh yeah, he could be back in. They pull him back out. They put him back in.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much tired of that hokey pokey.
Right.
So I just go back to I would be playing Bartlett at this point anyway, because even if he was available, I might be playing him as a extra 8. Because actually they've been fairly successful when he was doing that, even though he's not my favorite as an 8. But when he was there, Memo, I would almost rather have. I'd almost rather have Shoppy at the 6 than Memo at this point.
Right.
Because I know Shoppy would do some fighting.
Right.
And again, Memo was pretty good for the team last year when he played. He wasn't a star, but he was a very serviceable fill. And this year he has mostly been bad when I've noticed him. So
yeah,
I wish him well, and I hope everything gets better, but it just hasn't been good.
It is what it is.
Right. I just try not to be super critical on people because, they are humans and stuff, and families sometimes listen to these things too.
Yeah.
Tell you what, let's just take a break and come back and talk about referee. All right, segment 2. Do you know what that referee's name was? Was it something like Ringling Brothers? No, wait.
Well, those that are listening, Thad was at the current game, and what time did you get the sporting game? About what minute was it?
It was in the middle of the first half. I don't remember the exact time.
I just remember you posting on our Slack channel, I'm going to need to see some replays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I came in, I was just trying to get some shots, just, at least a few photos, because you never know how a game's going to go, right? I at least want some photos of players that you can say was at the specific game. But yeah, let's see, there's three big calls, right, from this game?
Yeah.
2 PK, a non-PK, and a red card.
I'm going to try this. Sergei Demianchuk, something like that. That was the name of the referee. I tried.
I'll just go with Sergey.
Just find me. Go ahead.
I'll go with Sergey.
Okay.
And what I found out later was he's the one that gave the red card to Diego Luna, who then the red card was rescinded.
Oh, interesting.
Because he didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
And because him and another player had collided, the foul should have actually been on the other player. The other player clapped his legs around Diego Luna, and Diego Luna's trying to pull his leg away. Right. But apparently he tried to free himself too violently for this ref, so he gave him a red.
Okay.
It should have went the other way, if anything. But that's, again, people make mistakes. And a lot of times when you look at refs, you say, as long as they got the big calls right, then you're okay with it. But I felt like there was so many things that I was questioning when I left that stadium. And maybe some of that I've changed my mind a little bit on, but I walk away and I would see a foul where they would take down Manu and no call, and 30 yards down the field, the call would be, oh, that's a foul on exactly the same thing. And I'm like, again, I could be biased, but were you kind of getting that sense too?
But
it was just inconsistent.
I was in the stands watching the game, and there were 3 fouls on our left inner channel, mid channel, whatever you want to call it, like in succession. No fouls called at all. Our guys ended up on the ground. Nothing called at all. And then eventually it got to the point where he started just giving cards out like candy. But you can't do that. It's like, and I made this analogy in the recap, you can't let your kid have all the freedom you want and then try to reel them in, because that never works. And that's what he seemed to try to do. Oh, I'm losing control of this game. I'm going to really now try to pull too much control out of this game and throw cards out like nothing. So that was a problem that I had. You need to be consistent. You can't pull the reins back after you've loosened the reins so much. But I don't know, one of the calls that you're referring to, as far as the breakdown, the 3 calls, the non-call on Shopee, what did you think of that? Do you have any opinions in the box?
Because everything was all those important plays that I was there for were pretty far away from me, and I didn't have the best angle. So came home, brought up the highlights. My daughter, who was at the game, came down, and we sat there and tried to dissect them as frame by frame as we possibly could with Apple replays. And I have to say that I have no convincing position, quite honestly. I'm not trying to be wishy-washy. I'm just trying to say, when I look at the replay, I can say I cannot 100% overturn what he said. I don't think he was right, but I don't have a 100% position that I can look at that and say, yep, nope, he was wrong. What do you think?
Okay, so let's talk about the PK that was called, and then we'll talk about them together. What'd you think of that one?
Same. I think there was potentially just enough contact. Although I think he was falling, I think he was going to dive. That doesn't rule out the fact that there was potentially contact.
Yeah.
From the angle when I saw it live, I thought there was not contact. But again, that was on the exact opposite end of the field, although I had a pretty good look at it. And I can't see any replays that show me a better angle than I had. So from my own original point of view, I thought there was no contact. It was a dive, and it should have been overturned. But watching the replays, I can't say that.
So my thought is on both the Shopping non-call and the call for the PK for Acosta. If the initial call had been the opposite, in other words, if they had called a PK on the Shoppy, and if they had not called a PK on the Acosta, I think there would not have been enough evidence to overturn those calls,
right,
if they had been made that way. So, yeah.
Do you think there was enough to overturn them the way they were, though?
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
That's the problem. I don't think he was right, but I don't think VAR was wrong, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because VAR needs to and I was talking to somebody after the game. They're with the team, so I'm not going to out anybody by name because I don't want this to be like, oh, they said this about the ref. But it was just talking about VAR, saying that they feel like VAR has raised their clear and obvious threshold for asking for reviews over time. Yeah. And maybe it's even more rapidly this year. And I can't say they're wrong, but I know there's been times I'm like, man, that was pretty ticky-tacky. They should review that. But then, there's been times like, no, they probably shouldn't review this because it was too ticky-tacky. There's not a right answer, man. It's never going to be exactly 100%. Everybody's going to agree with it. And I'll take some slings and arrows for saying this. I just don't think VAR was wrong in those two calls. Non-reviews. Again, they looked at them.
The commentators said that they think Shoppy may have basically tripped over the ball. And you couldn't really tell that clearly from the replay, but that was their theory. And then, of course, Acosta was going down. He was diving. There was ever so slight contact. I just hate to reward that, even though there was very slight contact.
Yeah. Again, if they had not called it, I don't think he overturned it. But they did, and he had in theory he had a better position than what the video replays did, right? So I feel like I had a better angle, quite honestly, but all from a very long way away.
So a third call. What was the third one you were referring to?
Shelton.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I don't even want to argue what the first yellow was. I don't remember it being that egregious. But on the second yellow that led to the red, was it a valid second yellow / red?
You've got to give a yellow to a guy who, number one, didn't get the ball, and number two, was late. You've got to give a yellow on that. I don't think there's any way you could not.
Well, I think you could not, because I've seen it quite often that you do not.
Well, responsibly not give that.
Well, I think even responsibly, he did not go in with any intent to hurt anybody, and I know that's not the rule. I don't think he went in with any intent to hurt anybody. I don't know that he actually made real contact with the player because the guy went like 2 more steps before he went down.
Mm-hmm.
But because he came in a little bit late and with speed and with a foot out that wasn't straight out studs up, but was studs out. I think it's a valid call, but 99% of the time, refs don't call that when it's a second yellow, it feels like. You know what I mean?
But I'll go back to the point I made earlier. Again, he had the rein so loose early, and then he tried to tighten them, and the game got intense. There were, things going on off the ball.
Yeah.
I think in that moment, that's a call that's made in that moment, in that atmosphere, if you will, the way the game state was. I think it's more likely to be called.
If you're the ref at that moment, do you throw the second yellow?
See, it's such a tough question because...
Right. But that's what we're asking, because I know there's never a single right answer, right?
Right.
But because it's in that position, and we both have a little bit of bias. I know we both try to be unbiased in how we judge these things, but we might have a little bias. And I've just seen so many times that you don't throw a second yellow when a player's already on a yellow for much more egregious things.
So I looked this up during the game. Okay. Our yellow cards are not reviewable by VAR, except when there may be a case of mistaken identity,
right,
or when the incident leads to a potential red card. I read that as, if it's so flagrant that instead of a yellow, it could be a red, it's reviewable.
Right.
So does that say that a second yellow that turns into a red is not reviewable? Is that what that says?
My understanding of that is correct.
Okay.
Because it wasn't a red.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a first yellow and VAR thought it was egregious enough, they could ask for it to be reviewed and it become a red.
Right.
But because it's a second yellow, actually VAR could ask for it to be reviewed to make it a straight red. So it doesn't really change the outcome of anything other than whatever your card accumulation stats are. But I've seen that, and it is a valid thing where you get a yellow and they second yellow and it's a red, and VAR says take a look at it, and the ref comes back and says it's not a yellow, it's a straight red. Boom.
So what I was going to say, if I was the ref, I would have maybe wanted to review it. That's a cop-out, I know. But I don't think I would have called it, because I don't think I would have lost control of the game and been in that game state. I think I would have seen it as for what it was, that, again, it wasn't flagrant and there was no intent, even though he was late and he didn't get the ball. Like you said, the guy didn't start to stumble over until 2 steps later. I think I would have told the guy to get up and play on.
Yeah. And I would have also turned to Kyrie and said, it's your last shot, man.
Right. Yeah.
You're done. Don't do any more.
Yeah.
And I don't think Kyrie was doing anything egregious before that either. But maybe I missed that.
But
to be fair,
you can't put yourself in that position. He's got to know better than that.
Yeah, stuff happens.
Yeah, it does.
All right. Anything else on the calls other than it?
Well, Miller was repeatedly complaining that his jersey was being pulled. I haven't rewatched the whole game to look at those issues or not. If that was the case, did you see any of that going on?
Yes. Matter of fact, there was one where Miller was running into the box and the guy just pulled him, and Miller gets yanked and he's flying, and there's no call.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a shot of that, so I need to post that somewhere. Damn it!
Yeah, you should put it for the story here for this spot.
So yes, I just felt like, again, I never want to accuse refs of being biased. I do feel like under the Vermees years, sometimes Sporting didn't get calls because they were tired of Peter.
Yeah.
And it just felt like maybe this guy forgot that it was Peter that gave him shit before and he came back out. I don't know. I don't really want to say it was true bias, though, because that's unfair to somebody who's probably trying to do their best and sometimes just fails. But
now, Thad, we spent a lot more time talking about the ref than Sporting's performance. Let's just say, and I'll say it for myself, not for you, but Sporting should have played better. We're not blaming the loss on the ref, though it did not help, but it did affect the game.
It did affect the game.
Yeah, but Sporting needs to do better. They can't allow 4 goals, especially when 2 of them were so easy.
Well, just think if the PKs had went the other way, as we think they probably should have.
Yeah.
Now it's potentially a 3-3 game or a 2-2 game, and teams play differently when they're ahead or when they're chasing the game. All these things happen. They wouldn't have given up the fourth goal if they weren't chasing the game.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe. They did it last 4 years pretty often, even when they weren't chasing the game. But it's still, you can hope. All right. Yes, the team needs to play better. They need to figure out the defense. They need to figure out the midfield. And as we've discussed on previous pods, that figuring it out may require additional help in the window. Mm-hmm. As in, almost definitely. Okay, this could have been a segment on its own, but I'm gonna add one thing to this, and it's just for a little entertainment sake, because I've seen people see that Johnny Russell scored a goal, and damn it, see, this is why Sporting is so terrible. They let a legend go. You know how much you would have had to pay Johnny Russell to stay and not score very many goals?
Right. I'm happy for him. Well done, Johnny.
Did you see the goal? I did not have. Yeah. I have not watched the goal. I just saw that he scored and that he was doing the wave the flag in Salt Lake for the fans.
Right.
Good.
Yeah, he was released on the right wing. Only had one man to beat, maybe, and cut inside and finish at the near post actually. So not the far post.
Yeah, I think I did see that now, but it was just a quick highlight.
Yeah.
So I just want to make a little comparison because he was the number 7. We have Munoz Santi, who is number 7. He's got 2 goals. Johnny has 1. Johnny's played 4 games. Santi's been in 5 games. Their minutes are 10 minutes apart. 1 goal. Santi has 2 goals. I'm okay because Santi's probably a whole lot cheaper at this point. And he showed some nice movement going out the middle.
Yeah, obviously 2 different positions, more or less. 2 different types of players for sure. Yeah, that goal that Munoz scored, nice ball by Manu, but his touch and just gliding through the defender, gliding through the box and putting that one away, tucking it away. That's nice stuff. I want to see more of them. So I hope we get to. But he's well worth what we're paying for him for sure.
Yeah, he's on loan, so we really don't know how much he is yet, but We'll find that out. But he's also on the young side and has future. We're love you, Johnny, but that's probably not a lot of future left.
Obviously, he's kind of in front of Toy as well, so that seems pretty clear.
Yeah, and again, Munoz can play a couple different spots because he has come in on the right wing, I believe, at times.
Yeah,
for a little bit, but just that run up the middle shows at least there's another option there.
He might, be even better than William at some point. We shall see. William had a pretty good strike rate here, but yeah. We know he had his issues.
he scored a fair amount of goals, and it took a whole lot of opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
That's if we could create that many opportunities today on, we'd be winning games 6-2, 6-4. It'll be entertaining and making Carey go gray-haired. But it'd be entertaining. All right, let's come back in another segment because there's a whole lot of other stuff we want to cover, but maybe not in a whole lot of depth. Is that fair?
Sounds good.
We'll be back in a second. And we're back. Hopefully you just listened to an ad. Maybe, I'll make 17 cents this month. Maybe.
Fill up Thad's pockets. You can get him some Bubblicious or something. Yeah.
I haven't had that since 70s?
80s? 80s. Let's say 80s.
No. I didn't do bubblegum in the 80s.
Oh, okay. All right. Good man.
I graduated alcohol.
Still got your teeth. Yeah.
Yeah, as much as I can. All right. A lot of different things going on right now. Club World Cup. I have not watched a whole lot of it. How about you?
The only match I've really caught the whole match was LAFC and Chelsea because I wanted to see that one. We worked out with my vacation time. We were lounging at that time, so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll throw it on. And of course, Chelsea, probably the strongest team, one of the strongest teams in the Club World Cup against LAFC, who is known for they can counterattack, but they can't really hold the ball. And final was 2-0 Chelsea, which I think LAFC made a really good account of themselves. They had a couple of chances. Bawanga missed one. There's Nathan Ordaz got knocked out with a concussion, but he had a couple of good runs and looks early before he had to exit the game. David Martinez had one or two. So they actually held their own pretty well. It wasn't two until late in the game that Chelsea scored. I mean, Chelsea, they're good. They're physically imposing. They move the ball well. They missed a few opportunities they could have put away, sure. But, I think Hugo Lloris had a good match. And, I was feeling good about, MLS quality after watching that one, and interested to watch Chelsea for the future because they're on the up and they're going to be good.
I feel like I'll start watching it a little more closely in the next round, quite honestly. But I just have not. It's just not risen to my level of attention. Been busy going a bunch of different directions.
There's been a couple blowouts for sure.
Yeah, that's not unusual for this.
Juve's up 5-0 right now, for example.
It's funny. I've watched Club World Cup when it was in other countries more often than I have watched it when it's in the United States.
Yeah. And then let's see. Oh, that was a Gold Cup game that I almost said the score of 5-0. Oh, sorry, PSG won 4-0. Bayern Munich won 10-0. I mean, yeah. So the next round is probably a good time to focus.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gold Cup, the Gold Cup is being played right now. U.S. won their first game. Looked pretty good, actually. Did you get a chance to watch any of that?
I just saw the highlights, really. Did you get catch much of it?
Yeah, I watched half of it here. Then I went to a bar where I know the bartender and watched the other half.
Oh, okay. All right.
And because she was nice enough to make sure it was up there. But it was 5-0 on Trinidad and Tobago. And it was fairly well dominant, most of it. Trinidad had a couple chances, but U.S. was just good. Tillman scored a couple. I can't say his name. Patrick scored. Aronson and Haji Wright. So,
how was Luna? A lot of people are raving about Luna's performance.
I thought he played really well. Quite honestly, he had I think 2 assists. One was going to be a goal, but it deflected off of a leg as it went through. So it's he created it. He's playing well enough to definitely be in the A team roster, I would believe, at this point. And I know Pochettino just likes because he has big balls.
So, I mean, we got Saudi Arabia next. Haiti is our last game. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so we should make it through with no problem at all. Canada, they won 6-0.
Yeah.
In their first match. So just like the Club World Cup, it's going to be, when it gets down to one and done, we're really going to see a little bit more about the truth of what this team can actually do. Of course, this is fresh off getting destroyed 4-0 by Switzerland. So, who knows? We haven't really seen what this team's made of, and that's coming.
Well, in theory, no team in this is Switzerland, so...
Right, yeah, right, sure.
It's not going to quite equate out to any of that, but it was a little surprising that Canada beat Honduras 6-0. I don't know how good Honduras is supposed to be right now, but I just always think of them as being a plucky enough team to not go down 6-0. But hey, Trinidad beat the U.S. in Trinidad to knock them out of a World Cup also. So
it's CONCACAF, baby.
And I do think that's one of the things that people always forget is that you can play one of these little minnow teams, but they're never an easy team to beat. So when you are beating them 5-0, 6-0, that still says something, even though they're a smaller country and deep down the rankings, they're playing for the love of the game also. I
think it's just a matter if this team can, pitch control is a term they use these days. If they can really command the game, with moving the ball and things like that, and play the game on their terms, if they can do that, then they should be fine.
And I felt the U.S. did that against Trinidad. They're not going to do that against one of the better teams. They're going to have to take every opportunity they have at that point.
Yeah. We'll see if they can do that.
We shall. And we are recording this on Wednesday night. The U.S. plays on Thursday night against Saudi Arabia. And who knows, might try to come up with a little national team special somewhere in the next few days, just talking about the Gold Cup.
Yeah, we definitely should. But I do want to say something before we move on, Thad. Cody remarked, we talked a little bit about the FIFA World Cup poster, the Kansas City version, and how Cody was disappointed with it, kind of a scarf theme designed here.
Yeah,
but
Cody's such a hater.
Sporting gave out their World Cup poster Saturday night at the match. The world arrives in 2026. Obviously, more Kansas City Sporting focused. I like it a lot. It's got a lot of Kansas City landmarks. It's got fans in it celebrating, etc. It's got a pitch, at Arrowhead right in the middle with fireworks going off. My favorite barbecue place, Joe's. So good. But the guy at the top, he's got his face painted in blue and white stripes. Makes me think more of an Argentina fan than a Sporting fan. So that's about my only problem with it.
Huh. I have not seen this, so I don't know.
But obviously, Sporting is blue and white stripes. That's the thing. But it just reminds me of Argentina when I first see it for some reason. But it's a much better poster than the FIFA World Cup one. But there you go.
I don't mind the Kansas City World Cup one. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
They put it out there. If you could do a better design, go do a better design and submit it. So.
Well, hey, Jenna Gutierrez and Diego might appreciate that we mentioned this. Next Sunday, the 22nd, there is a World Cup kind of little party going on, just kind of previewing things that they're working on for the World Cup and getting a flavor, a taste of what it's going to be like. So put your calendars there for that. I believe it starts. I know Gina's going to be there at 1:30. I think it starts around noon. I'm going to look it up here real quick. But that's an event you should put on your calendar, folks. Any thoughts on that, Thad? Are you going to be there?
I probably am not.
Okay.
I don't usually go to things that are just more like fans show up and celebrate kind of stuff.
Right, yeah.
But sometimes.
So it is at Speria campus in Overland.
Formerly Sprint campus.
Right. And come and see what they've all been working on here about what's ahead for the FIFA World Cup and as it comes to Kansas City. So it's called the Kansas City World Cup 2026 Kansas City Kickoff. So a lot of special events going on. So hope to see you out there. Again, starts at noon, goes till 5.
Yeah, and there is a chance I'll be out there, but I just won't count on it just yet.
Yeah.
All right. So the U.S. playing in the Gold Cup, having to hopefully be better. Worked towards the World Cup, all the issues we've talked about with players missing and all that stuff. On the women's side, though, they're playing 3 friendlies, and for the second camp in a row, 3 KC current players were called up. However, not the same 3 because Lola Bonta is still hurt.
Yeah.
So Izzy Rodriguez got called up along with
awesome.
Claire Hutton and Michelle Cooper.
So how many call-ups is this for Izzy?
Her first.
Okay, it is her first. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
4 players called up by Emma Hayes for their first senior team camp, if I remember correctly, and all but one player, and this would drive on the men's side crazy, but all but one player is from the American side league,
right?
The NWSL. Right, yeah. If it was Pochettino calling up nothing but MLS players, it would just drive people crazy, and it does. But it's just that Emma's looking at just letting the players that are in the European leagues, they're on their break right now, have a break.
Makes sense.
The only player.
Oh, go ahead.
The only player that she called up from a European league is Naomi Gurma, who was injured and was out for half the season. So she's not had the amount of games on her
Right.
legs for this season.
Right. So let's talk about, let's start with Claire. Is she pretty much lock, stock, and barrel with the national team now? Is she a give me?
I don't want to say she's quite there yet, but she's getting close. And she's not necessarily a starter for him, but she's
Right.
kind of working towards that. She didn't start. Um, she didn't start at least one of the last two games. Maybe I can't. Maybe it was both, but I know she didn't start both games for sure. And they do have a lot of good midfielders. This upcoming three games, though, she might be getting starts because not having the players from Europe in.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it around this time last year where Claire had a bit of a dip in form, maybe due to fatigue? I don't know. Is that a concern at all for the current, getting these national team call-ins and everything?
It is. For the NWSL, though, they have a month off. So they're playing, their own personal tournament, Teal Rising Cup, against two
Right.
Brazilian teams and Chicago Not Red Stars. Uh, so they'll be missing those three. They'll be missing Lorena, um, Nichelle Prince, who got called up to Canada today.
hmm
Of course, every time she goes to Canada, she gets hurt, it seems like. But
Oh,
the so they'll be missing those players over the month, but during that time, these players will get in three games for their national team, perhaps,
hmm
and then the Casey Current are playing the Teal Rising Cup, where they'll play on Saturday night, I think, for a game, and then on Tuesday for a game. So they'll get two in there, and then probably a couple of friendlies that are behind closed doors.
So what is Cooper's status then with the national team? Is she's not near Claire's level, or is she, or where? How
Well,
are you
actually,
seeing
she's
that?
gotten more starts lately than Hutton
Yeah.
because um, essentially the big three line for the women that was at the Olympics, Rodman, Sophia Smith, and Mal Swanson are all out right now. So
Okay.
they've been out for a little bit. So Cooper is kind of filled in at that right wing spot where you would see Rodman a lot,
hmm
and they've had some different people in the center forward role. Kat Macario, Biondolo, formerly Lynn Williams, Lynn Biondolo. Trying to remember if there's anybody else. There was Sentner, Ali Sentner, who's really good up and comer. So they have a lot of talent down there, and it's probably a good opportunity. And this is what Emma Hayes talks about every press conference: is they're building the pool, building the pool. They might be building a pool for 26, the Women's Gold Cup, or for 27, the Women's World Cup, but they're building a pool. So
So
these players might
Cooper's,
play a lot.
would you say it's accurate to say Cooper's been on fire a lot of this season?
She has played really, really well.
Hmm
Fire is a term that I would use for somebody who is scoring a few more goals.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got a few goals. I forget, 4 goals, I think now.
I've seen some pretty sweet assists as well.
Yes, and in the last World Cup camp, or last national team camp, she had a great assist
Yeah.
into heaps,
Yeah, I remember that.
and she's been playing really well. And I don't want to use the term fire because I just think of scoring a ton of goals, but
Right. Yeah.
she has been exceptionally good and showing why she was worth that draft pick that the Current spent on her, uh, and the trade, which was, I believe, for Lynn Williams, Lynn Biondolo. So
Well, let's go away. Let's go back to the current. Isn't there a Club World Cup for the women next year?
I'm trying
I
to remember when
believe.
it is,
Yeah, I
but
believe so.
they have to win the NWSL, and then they have to win like a regional or something to go to it too. So
Oh, do they? Okay.
it's because it's not a as established yet.
Yeah.
I'm not totally sure on the thing. But I did see somebody who knows more than me about it tweet out about how they really want to see them make the Women's Club World Cup and compete against some of the other big teams in the world because right now they are so damn dangerous.
Okay, so I just looked it up. Cody will love this. Okay, so it was originally planned for 2026, the Women's Club World Cup, the inaugural one, been delayed till 2028, and in its place, FIFA will launch a new competition, the FIFA Women's Champions Cup, in 2026.
Yeah. So I think that's what they'd have to win or something to move to the Club World
Yeah,
Cup.
yeah.
It's
Okay.
I think one of the reasons I never get that excited about the Club World Cup stuff is it's just such a who knows what you actually have to do to get into it. And in some cases, all you have to do is be in the right country. So, and that happens every year that I've ever followed it. I mean, so if it's played in Saudi Arabia, a Saudi Arabian team gets into it, and then another one gets into it as the extra team. Or when it was played in Japan, I believe it was the same way. So it's the way it is. But yeah, people were just more upset because it was Miami who got named to it more than winning into it.
And Messi couldn't rescue them in their first match, 0-0 draw in the opening match of the Club World Cup.
Oh, sad trombones.
Yes.
All right. Current did win this last game. Go listen to Keeping Current with Kansas City. Daniel Sperry and I discussed the last two current games because we struggled to get in a pod over there also. But they just looked really well. Started off strong. Racing Louisville made it a little dicey or a little antsy towards the end, but Tim Wachawinga scores one in the 95th minute to put it away, which is pretty much just how their modus operandi goes now. Score early, force the other team to try to get something on you, and then if they do, come back and score on them again. All right, anything we missing here, Robert?
Well, if you're going to say something prophetic, I do have something prepared, just so you know.
Okay, well, before we go there, I would just like to encourage people to, I don't have it right in front of me and I should, so I apologize, but go look up the local teams that are playing Sunflower State and Santa Fe Wanderers and USL2, Sunflower State Women and KC Courage and WPSL. And there's a couple others that are in the League for Clubs and some other stuff around here. Go look them up. I'll try to post something about them over the next couple days just so you know where they're at. Their seasons are going on right now, and these guys are not getting as much attention as they probably should. Tickets are not very expensive. Go out, support them, buy a shirt or a hat or a scarf or something. I consider Sunflower State to be kind of a friend of the pod because they're a bunch of good guys, and the other ones are all good people, KC Courage especially. So go out and support them.
What venues are those matches at?
Sunflower State play their home matches at Pembroke Hill. Santa Fe Wanderers play their home matches at UMKC at Durwood Stadium. KC Courage play at Avila. And the other ones I don't know.
Okay, cool.
Well, there's one of the League for Clubs team that has the facility at the bottom of the hill at 470 and View High. Paragon. I can't remember which club is there. It used to be Scott Gallagher, something before that. Now it's Union. Is it Union? Is it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Do you see Chris Thompson's doing some play-by-play or PA announcing anyway at those matches?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Chris Thompson was he coached my daughter for a little bit of time.
I coached with him for a number of years.
He was a teacher, coach, pretty nice guy. So anyway,
for sure.
Go check them out. They're easy to find. All I got to do is look them up, and I will try to find something and post about it. But it's local soccer, doesn't cost a whole lot, and it's people who care about playing all the time. So, all right, now, do you have anything else, or do I go to do you have something prophetic to say?
Well, we can just review. Sporting Kansas City, not a great performance, not a horrible performance, but got to be better at home for sure.
Yep.
So that's that. Current doing well. National team call-ups. Men's national team doing well. Club World Cup going on. A lot of other stuff going on. Gold Cup going on. So that's all good stuff, Thad. But, and this is my prophetic thing, I wish the transfer window were here sooner than July 24th.
So do I. So do I. Now, the thing to always remember is they can sign players ahead of the window. If they're out of contract, they can sign players.
Right.
So that you can't transfer a player until then. So you could also have a player paid for and all that stuff and showing up to practice so they'd be ready to play when the window opens.
That would be ideal, wouldn't it?
And that has almost never happened over the last decade. I have a feeling that if it was going to happen, let me phrase this. I think Burns might have a better chance of making that happen. Because remember, they got Joaquin Fernandez last year, but they got him late in the window.
Right,
And
yeah.
by the time he was here long enough to be able to put into the game, his one accomplishment was a known goal header that was a beautiful header. So I do think there's a better chance. In fact, after last availability last week, 3 of us were standing outside talking a little bit, and we saw like guys walk out of the training center. Like they're not wearing sporting gear. They're not sporting people for damn sure. One guy looks like he's healthy enough to be a player, but one guy was very clearly not a player because he was old and like lit up a cigarette literally 10 feet out the door, and then they got in an Uber and left.
Jimmy Nielsen's back on the squad? What? Oh.
No, this was definitely not Jimmy Nielsen because this guy was about 5'2" and bald. But so again, I don't like come out there and say, "Oh, rumors that there was a player there," because I have no clue. It could have been, guys coming in to discuss, vending machines or something. Who knows, right?
But hey, Thad will have the inside scoop when it does happen.
No, probably Sperry will because they'll give it to him. But
well,
that's the way that works. Anyway, anything else?
No, just rate, subscribe,
review,
all that stuff. Review, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to ask for that stuff, but we have to, right?
Yeah, part of our job.
All right, we are out.
Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. The other side don't seem so tough. And 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Supporters strong have all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin. Anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.